Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Full 90. It is finally time for the Week 1 Premier League predictions. And I have to say, congratulations to my team, my guys, Arsenal, for winning the Community Shield. I mean, it is the Community Shield, but, you know, it is what it is. Obviously, we didn't get there by winning the FA Cup or Premier League, so there is that. But still, a win's a win, and it's a good psychological start to the season. So, if you want to get involved with the videos we've got coming up this season, then be sure to drop a like down below, subscribe, join us on the road to 25,000 subscribers, and if you want to be a part of the members club, get exclusive members tips and accumulators and stuff like that. I am, after a couple of weeks into the season, once we've got our bearings with the teams and how they're playing and everything, I'm going to start a stake builder challenge. So if you want to join that and support the channel, click the join button down below or the first link in the description. But with that being said, write out your predictions in the comments below, and let's get to it. If you are new to the channel and how we do things around here, I also offer a tip for each individual game for free at the end of every score prediction. So we're going to get started with Burnley up against Manchester City. The apprentice meets the master. Vincent Kompany's Centurions Burnley against Pep Guardiola's not so long ago Centurions Manchester City. Obviously the team has chopped and changed since then. Man City, I mean, they've let some good players go, it is safe to say, but they've got Guardiola in, so that should be a good addition. Kovacic played his debut in the Community Shield. I've always rated Kovacic as a player. I think Burnley are going to do moderately well this season. I don't think they'll get relegated. If you want to see my entire Premier League table predictions, you can go and watch last week's video where I predicted the Premier League table from 20th all the way up into 1st. I think for this fixture, it's actually going to be relatively low scoring. I think it's going to be exciting just because of the vibe. Football is back, everyone's excited. I know I myself am excited. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Manchester City. It was a toss-up between me of a Manchester City -1 handicap or Man City win to 0, and at the better odds I've gone with Man City to win to 0 at evens at 2. So I mean, it'd be a good start for a stake builder. Just take your first stake, whether it's £10, £50, whatever, and put that on Man City to win to 0. Obviously, Burnley could score. There's always that risk with win to 0, but I do think Man City have the quality to keep a clean sheet for the first game of the season and win 2-0. After that, it is Arsenal up against Nottingham Forest at the Emirates. I do think this is going to be a conclusive win for Arsenal, and you can see that the odds suggest that Arsenal are more likely to win their first game than Man City are to win their first game. That's how favoured Arsenal are in the market here. A brilliant transfer window. I think they've really added in the right areas, and I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to Arsenal. And my tip is Arsenal halftime, Arsenal full-time at 1.8. They could win this 1-0 as long as they're up at halftime, because I looked at the likes of Arsenal -1 handicap, Arsenal and over 2.5 goals, neither of which were as good a value as 1.8 here for Arsenal. Nottingham Forest at home as well. Very good home record, so I'm going to go for an Arsenal win there. After that, it is Bournemouth up against West Ham, and this is actually quite a difficult one to predict. West Ham, obviously, they lost their best player in Declan Rice. I don't know what sort of West Ham we're going to see this season. I think Bournemouth, if they are to stay up, it's going to be points they get at home. And this is a very good chance for them to win and take all 3 points. But at the end of the day, I'm going to settle on a 1-1 draw. And my tip is both teams to score at 1.7. I think Bournemouth could take the win. But if they do, I honestly see it being 2-1. I don't see Bournemouth keeping a clean sheet here. And I also don't really see West Ham keeping a clean sheet, hence why I've opted for both teams to score. It could go either way, but I do think both teams will score. Now after that, we head to the Amex for Brighton up against Luton. Again, odds heavily in favour of Brighton here. I am going to go for another fairly straightforward, predictable win. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Brighton. And my tip is Brighton -1 handicap at 1.83. I know they've lost McAllister, who was sort of a key player for them last year, but as a unit, they are a very, very good team. And Luton, obviously being one of the weaker teams in the Premier League this season, coming up, it's going to be a tough opening day for them, I think. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Brighton. After that, it's Everton up against Fulham. This one's really, really interesting. Everton, the favourites, I suppose, understandably in a way, as they are at home. Everton finishing a fair few places below Fulham last season. Fulham, I think they can get something from this game. I think Everton are they're always at risk of being relegated, but they never get relegated. And it's annoying. As an Arsenal fan who kind of almost fights with Everton as like the team that have spent the most time in the top flight / never relegated type debate or whatever, part of me is like, can we just relegate Everton just once so Arsenal can be the standalone? But I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw here. And my tip is Fulham double chance at 1.7, because something tells me Everton aren't going to win. So I'm going to side slightly with Fulham and say that it'll be a 1-1 draw. Everton definitely could win. When they get surprise results, it's always at home. Like surprise wins when they're in bad form. I just think Fulham on the opening day can maybe grab something. After that, it's Sheffield United up against Crystal Palace. I think at Selhurst Park, I'd probably go for a Palace win 1-0. But I'm going to give Sheffield United a new season Premier League opening day bounce at home and give them not a 1-1, a 1-1 draw. My tip is actually going to be under 2.5 goals at 1.66. I could see this being a 0-0. I think both sides are lacking a little bit of quality. I do think Crystal Palace are better, of course, but I think at home, Sheffield United, we've seen it in recent seasons in the Premier League. They've been tougher to beat than people expect. So given that it's opening day, I'm saying that they are going to get something in this first game. Next up, arguably, you could argue the best of the rest derby for the Premier League. Obviously, Newcastle have very much been included in the Big Six conversation, but for the sake of Spurs staying in there, they're sort of now being branded the Big Seven, which I think is hilarious. But I'm sure Aston Villa will have something to say with that, with some of the business they've done. I mean, Yuri Tielemans, I would have liked him at Arsenal. He's a phenomenal player. I think he's a really, really good player. And I think Aston Villa are going to have a great season. I mean, had they not had Europe to contend with and they were sort of full strength, I could easily see them pushing into the top 6. Not to mention the Big 7 we've got to worry about. But St. James's Park is a difficult place to go. It's notoriously tough to win. I believe only Liverpool and Arsenal won at St. James's Park last season. And I would say Liverpool and Arsenal were both, I would say, at the very least fortunate to get the whole 3 points at St. James's Park. So I think Newcastle are going to kick off their season with a win. Again, mentioning another Leicester player that's transferred into a new team. We've got Harvey Barnes at Newcastle. He's one of my favourite players in the league, actually. Whenever Harvey Barnes gets the ball, I feel like something's going to happen. And not a lot of players give you that eye-catching ability, but I feel like Harvey Barnes has that, and he's got an absolute strike on him as well. So I'm going to go for 2-1 to Newcastle, and my tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.7. I thought it'd be more likely that both teams would score rather than Newcastle winning, and they were the same odds. So I've gone for both teams to score, but if you're feeling brave, you could go for Newcastle and both teams to score at probably like 3 or 4 to 1. So have a look at that if you feel brave. After this, Brentford Tottenham. This might be Big Six bias coming into play. It's so hard to predict against Tottenham. I think Brentford could get a result. Do I mix it up? Tottenham, they still have Harry Kane at the moment. So on the basis that if Harry Kane plays, I'm going for a 2-1 Tottenham, because I think Harry Kane scores one of the goals. I just do. I think Brentford are a really, really good team, and Tottenham away is not a team you want to be backing. As far as a betting standpoint goes, I'd stay away from the result entirely. My prediction and tip for this game is both teams to score, and at the odds of 1.61, you can see that it's likely that it will happen. And I think it definitely could. I think Brentford could very well win this game, but I am just going to side with Tottenham. That Harry Kane difference, I think he will get a goal if he plays, assuming, and Tottenham can then get the win. After this is Chelsea up against Liverpool, the 0-0 derby, the double donuts derby, always 0-0. This is the last couple times they've played, I have predicted 0-0, but this time I'm predicting something different. I think Liverpool have they're getting into a new lease of life. They seem to have completely reworked their midfield. They look like they're scoring goals. Similarly, Chelsea appear to have, at the very least in full season, I try not to take too much from the preseason games, but they've got rid of a lot of players they weren't using. They've got exciting players now. They seem to be gelling. They seem to be scoring goals in the summer series. They scored a lot. And I actually do think we could see an opening day or opening weekend cracker between these two on Super Sunday. So I actually am going to go for a high scoring one this time, but still a draw, 2-2. My tip is both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at 1.95. Like I said, in the past few times they've played, I've predicted 0-0 draws, and it has happened, but there is something different about this. I think it could be goals galore in this first game. I might get proved wrong, but still, I think 2-2. Now, next up, we're going for Manchester United up against Wolves. This is, if I had to get a perfect score that I would be most confident in, it would absolutely be this. 2-0 to Man United. Honestly, if you're feeling a little bit crazy on the first day, why not chuck a quid on Man City and Man United to both win 2-0? If you chucked a pound on that, you would probably win like 50 or 60 quid back if they came in. So I just think it's the most likely score. Every week there's a score that I look at and think, yes, that's the one. And obviously it typically is a lower scoring game that happens in, but it's going to be this one. I'm going to go Man United to win 2-0. My tip is Man United to win and under 3.5 goals at 2.2. So the highest odds we have for the first day. So that's Man United to win 1-2, 3-0 or 2-1. 4 results, very likely on their side. Obviously, the only way I see it not happening is if they win 3-1. I don't see them winning 4-0, and I don't see any result other than a win. So I do think that's very likely to happen. So I'm going to go Man United to win 2-0. So quick recap on the opening day. There's no real surprises here, to be honest. We've got everyone in the big 6/7, if you include Newcastle, winning, except Chelsea and Liverpool, who play each other, where I've split the difference. I've gone for 4 draws. And it's mostly with teams that were in the Premier League last season, where I don't know how they're going to play going into this new season. I do think that Luton are going to struggle for a result against Brighton. I just think that makes sense. Burnley the same against Man City. It's a tough game to start the season with, but those are my predictions, and that is going to do it for this video. So if you did enjoy this video and you're excited for the season, then please do drop a like, as I said, subscribe to join us on the road to 25,000 subscribers, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.